7. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. This has been a controversial split decision, thrusting judging in MMA once again back into sort of the spotlight. Not that we want it to be there, but Mark, let's start with you. Give us your assessment of the fight. Who do you think won this fight, and your assessment of the scorecards?
We're back here again. We're talking about judges instead of talking about fighters. What we should be doing right now is applauding the takedown D and the scramble ability and the technique of Kai Kara-France that guided him to this tough win. We should also be talking about right now how Amir Albazi did show that he has the game to hang with these top guys and that he's okay on the feet with them and that with some tweaks he could be a factor in this division. And instead of doing either of those things, there is no airtime from anyone being spent on complimenting either fighter for anything because we are focusing fully on the judges again because they've thrust themselves into the spotlight and taken it away from the fighters. And honestly, Amir Albazi is getting hate for something that was not even his doing. And Kai is just getting looked at as like poor Kai instead of anyone thinking about the solid performance that he just put on. So the full focus is on the judges. It sucks. They still can't get fights right. I'm not saying it wasn't a close fight because it was a close fight. It's a competitive fight. But in 10-9 round-by-round scoring, you need to win 3 rounds of a 5-round fight to win a fight. And there are only 2 rounds that you can conceivably score for Amir Albazi. So by definition, if there's no 10-8s, of course, which there were not, he cannot win that fight. Yet somehow he did. The only rounds you can score for Amir Albazi are round 2 and round 3. Props to Judge Michael Bell, who has gotten some stuff wrong before, but he did get this one right. You wouldn't think we need to give props for that, but apparently if you're a judge, it was really hard to get this one right, and he did. He scored at 48-47 Kai. He gave Kai 1, 4, and 5. He got it right. Unfortunately, from there, we moved to Sal D'Amato, who, in addition to rounds 2 and 3, also gave Albazi round 1, which is just simply wrong. I'd be more comfortable with Kai getting round 2 and winning this fight 49-46 than I would be with Albazi getting round 1. And then lastly, in the piece de resistance, we move to the scorecard of Chris Lee, who, in addition to rounds 2 and 3, gave Amir Albazi round 4, where
the slowest round.
0 things. He literally did 0 things in the round. So it makes no sense. Izzy's right. These judges should have to do interviews after the fights and explain themselves because there is currently no check in place, and these guys get to do asinine things with no repercussions. Amir Albazi did not win that fight. 2 experts on MMA decisions did score it for him, which blows my mind. But 9 experts had it 48-47 for Kai, and 10 experts had it 49-46 for Kai. The most common score among experts listed was 49-46 Kai, and yet he loses that fight. Not to mention 92% of the public scored it for Kai. So it's a bad one. Like I said, I personally would be way more comfortable with 49-46 Kai than I am with Albazi winning it. There's no way around it. It's a fuck up. It sucks for Kai Kara-France, and it sort of sucks for Albazi in a way too, to be honest.
Yeah, man. Omar, let's bring you in here. Give us your take of the fight. How did you score? What rounds did you give to whom? And what did you think of the judging?
Normally, when we find ourselves with some of these controversial decisions, we talk about how they're not really robberies, right? Like, they're close fights. You could see how it can go either way. And, a lot of people out here screaming robbery or, shouldn't really be screaming robbery in those situations. Your boy is screaming robbery here. This, I thought, was real bullshit. It was a competitive fight. I don't even know if I would really call it a close fight because I thought the rounds were clear. And I think that there was competitiveness in every single round of the fight. I don't think one guy, blew the other guy out of the water, so to say. But I thought after each individual round, 1 through 5, I thought it was clear who won each round, whether it was Albazi or whether it was Kara-France. By the time we got into round 5, I had it 2-2. I had Albazi winning rounds 2 and round 3. I mean, he was picking apart, or at least at the very least, landing the bigger shots in round 2 for sure. and then kind of continue that momentum into round 3. But Kara France was still fighting. He was still fighting a lot of the takedown attempts, was still doing great work with getting up off the ground and not allowing himself to stay stuck on the ground. And, you know, Albazi was doing everything that he could, so much so that by the time we got to the 4th round, Albazi did nothing because he was gassed. And he just needed a minute to kind of recover. He was still moving around. He was still trying to, you know, not, I guess, be completely useless in that sense, but it gave Kara France the opportunity to move forward, throw shots, land big shots, and kind of get the momentum back in his favor. So I thought the first round was also pretty clear as well. I thought the Albazi, I don't want to say he did nothing in round 1, but everything that mattered in round 1 all came from Kara France.
Yep.
And then by the time we got to the 5th round, if you don't think Kara France won the 5th round, I don't know what you're watching. I don't know how you watch MMA, because it's wrong. Kara France, the 5th round, I think, was the most, I think the easiest round to score out of the entire fight. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's crazy. I think people don't realize how crazy this really is, right? Like, Kara France should have won this fight. He lost out on $100,000. He lost his number 3 spot. He was supposed to probably get a title shot next, you know, potentially. And all of that just went to hell. One quick little burn, just because the referee couldn't do anything, or the judges couldn't do anything right. And so, and now the referees, or I keep saying referees, now the judges, after that night, get to go back in their cars, get to drive away, and everything's all good. It sucks. It's the worst. I can't tell you how much I hate it.
You know, it's like every single fight of a fighter's career, no matter where they are positioned on a card, on any given card, whether it's a pay-per-view or a fight night, that is the biggest fight of that fighter's career. And it's not like, even though, this is a fight night, it's not a pay-per-view, it's just a fight night, but it's not like this is a midsummer baseball game between the White Sox and the Cubs or something that always kind of has a very casual vibe, midsummer baseball, and some good people love that. My point being is to, you know, piggybacking off what you're saying, Kara France lost out on 6 figures worth of more money in his bank account, so that's significant, and his ranking and everything. It sucks, dude. Sucks.
It does.
Yep.
That being said, do you guys think that they're going to treat Kara France, they being the UFC in this case, that they're going to treat Kara France as sort of the rightful winner as they go into matchmaking him from here?
At best, he's probably some kind of backup, right? Like, if something happens to Albazi, maybe they'll pump up Kara France instead and kind of make him maybe the front runner for a situation like that. But they've already made the rankings what they are. Albazi at this point is number 3. I mean, they're gonna deal with what's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That being said, let's segue that right into us matching them up. Mark, let's start with you. What would you do next with? Let's start with the loser here, who we think could be the rightful winner in Kara France at flyweight.
So it's a little hard for me to start with the loser because I feel like my
if you want to start with Albazi,
let me switch it up, because to answer your question, it does feel like they're going to treat Albazi like the winner. I do think they kind of have to. I'm not saying he's going to march right into a title shot. I don't think he should off of that type of win. To me, even though the rankings are not this way, I still think Brandon Royval should be ahead in the pecking order of Amir Albazi. Dana was non-committal on Royval getting the shot against the winner of Moreno and Pantoja. But even if he's not going to, I think it probably just means they're going to make Royval fight Albazi. Yep. So that's my guess there. If Royval is going to just get the shot and Albazi has to fight someone else, I really don't know who that would be. The only other guess I have is like maybe Manel Kopp, since they were prepared to give Kopp a huge fight against Figgy that fell apart. Maybe they say, all right, now it's Albazi. But to segue into Kai, I do think that leaves him sort of out because he doesn't make sense in any of that top scenario. So my guess is maybe like a Matos Nicolau, who just recently lost as well. who's ranked kind of right next to Kai. He's got to bounce back against someone too. So that's not really treating Kai like he won, but I don't think there's really a ton of options aside from something like that for what you can do with Kai right now. Unless, of course, like Omar said, someone gets hurt, and then, yeah, you can say, all right, Kai's going to come in here. But if that's not the case, I don't think he really fits.
Omar, any other ideas?
Yeah, and unfortunately, Mark probably broke it down as best as it's going to get in that division right now. It's kind of a little bit of a shit show. Davidson Figueiredo, I don't think is going to be at 125 anymore, although we keep going back and forth, I think, with some of that stuff.
Yeah,
trying to figure out where he's going to land.
The last news was that he has redecided he's moving up, but who knows?
Yeah. So even if we take him out of the title picture, Pantoja is pretty much right next in the mix. Albazi basically is right behind him from there, and then Royval from there. So unless you're going to make Royval fight somebody like Albazi and kind of keep that momentum going, there's just going to be a lot of waiting around unless you're going to throw smaller, or less ranked guys at them, which I don't necessarily think anybody really deserves at that point. Royval was winning. Albazi technically won. Car France, I don't think lost, and so I don't really think he should be taking fights that are significantly lower than him. But the problem is he's number 5, so I mean, who do you put him up against? I don't know. It's a real shit show. Maybe we give Car France to Manel Kape, and we go from there.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anything else you guys want to say in terms of matchups? Want to match up?
We did.
No. You got everybody. That's right.
Judging is bullshit.
Judging is bullshit, man. Let's move on for the sake of time. Man, that sucks. I hate it when judging is like the main topic of conversation.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch live, and I heard it was a robbery, and in my mind I was like, let me watch this. Like, hopefully it's not. And then just to see it, I was like, wow, this fucking blows.
That 4th round, though, that is really something else.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
He literally did nothing in that round. I mean, I don't even know how many strikes he threw, but it was
the strikes themselves, which is not always the whole story, but the strikes themselves were like 25-5, if I remember right. Like, it's not even, and there was no takedown either.
Yeah.